Kenny Santarelli.
Santarelli.
Yeah, he's the owner of a radio station. And see, how old are you?
25.
25. So he can share some knowledge with me today. Share some knowledge with me today, which is where I meet, you know. So I'll let him have the floor.
Thank you for having me here today. My name is Ken Santarelli. I'm the Program Director and Operations Manager of WEGG, also known as Surge Radio 100.5 FM and 710 AM. I'm also the owner and manager of Surge Media LLC. And a little bit more about myself, I'm an ordained minister with an associate's degree in biblical studies, bachelor's degree in theology, and a master of divinity degree with an emphasis in systematic theology. So I just moved here from Los Angeles, California, and probably a bunch of you will want to stop me right there and wonder, why on earth did I come to Duplin County, North Carolina from Los Angeles, California? So, a little bit about that. I was born in Burbank, California, raised in Lancaster, California, lived most of my life in Lancaster except for 2 years that I lived in Nassau Bay, Texas. And then also 6 months on 2 separate occasions I lived in Temecula, California. And after attending Calvary Chapel Bible College and Antelope Valley College, I eventually transferred to Faith Bible College in Independence, Missouri. Now, Independence, Missouri is the next city over from Kansas City. My girlfriend came with me out there. I was 22 and she was 20, and even though she was 20, she had never graduated with her high school diploma. Faith Bible College, where we attended, offered a high school completion program where she was able to complete both her high school diploma and her associate's degree simultaneously. I transferred in with a lot of units and was placed on the advanced academic track, so she graduated with her high school diploma and associate's degree in biblical studies, and I graduated with my bachelor's degree in theology. And I was running here, so I'm still a little out of breath. I went on to earn my Master of Divinity degree, partly via correspondence, and that also involved writing a 147-page thesis paper. That was not only a very challenging experience, it was a very rewarding and exciting experience. I was able to write my thesis paper on my own personal statement of faith and thoroughly defend it using scripture. And after partially completing my master's degree, I moved back to California, finished the rest of it via correspondence. And leaving Kansas City was a decision that I regretted for many months. I was depressed and sad. So finally I had a chat with my girlfriend. I said, let's move back to Kansas City. She said, well, why do we have to go back to Kansas City? I hated Kansas City. Why can't we try someplace new, like North Carolina or South Carolina? So, deciding to give her suggestion a chance, I decided to start looking up what opportunities were available in North and South Carolina. Then, for the heck of it, I decided to look up and see if there were any radio stations for sale. And there were several of them. I looked at a bunch of them, but there was one that just stuck out to me. It was an AM radio station with an FM repeater station located in a little town called Rose Hill, North Carolina. So I decided to email the broker about this radio station and inquire about it. The broker's name was Roger Raffson, and he then scheduled a phone conference with the radio station's owner, Dr. Ronald Benfield. After a very positive phone conversation, I decided to take a drive out here from California last September and visit the radio station and check out this area. And I stayed at the Duplin Inn in Wallace for about 4 weeks, and during that time I met Dr. Benfield in person and wrote him the first of many checks, and still many more to come. And I filed to organize Surge Media LLC and sign the contracts with Connor Media Corporation to operate the radio station via time brokerage agreement. November 1st was my start date with WEGG, and for 2 weeks I worked on preparing to launch Surge Radio. A lot of the equipment that was in the radio station was in very poor condition, but I got it to a point where it would be sufficient for the new format. And the new station, Surge 100, launched on November 15th at 2 p.m. It launched with the song Hello by Martin Solveig and Dragonhead. Over the next several weeks, listeners of the previous format liked to call me up and constantly give me earfuls about how the devil sent me to take their radio station down. or how they were concerned that the elderly in the community or people in the nursing homes wouldn't have anything to listen to. I also managed to get on the bad side of the mayor of Magnolia. Now the problem with that, while it's great to be able to provide such a service to the elderly and the people in the nursing homes, it's extremely difficult to build a radio business with such a demographic as that target audience. It's great to be able to do charity work, but it's also important to be able to survive financially. The radio industry is one that survives primarily on selling small portions of airtime to businesses in order to help them use your business to bring more business to their business. We call that radio advertising. And as my good friend Shane said to me after I took over WEGG, you just bought yourself a marketing firm. To heck with radio, you're in the marketing industry. Now, if your audience is one that primarily consists of people in nursing homes, you're going to need to target businesses that serve such a demographic. And that is a difficult demographic to serve. Now, of course, I know there are more people listening to WEGG than just the elderly, but in the radio industry, it is all about mass appeal. So, many people get it in their mind that innovation is the key to success in radio, when that is actually not the case at all. The key to success in the radio industry is familiarity. When somebody is scanning across the radio dial, they're more likely to stop on something they're familiar with, rather than something they've never heard before. That's what we're doing with Surge Radio. We offer an adult top 40 format, which features pop, R&B, and dance music from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and today. That provides a good variety of music and a wide selection of music that many people will be familiar with, yet at the same time it remains focused enough to maintain people's interest. We developed this radio format based on an extensive demographic research for Duplin County. Then after a talk with the mayor of Magnolia, she insists nobody around here will ever listen to that. We have 6 billboards up, we have 8 advertisers, as well as brokered programming. We're played inside of a number of local businesses. We have 1,355 followers on Facebook now, and we're constantly getting feedback about how much people love the radio station. And even through all of that, it's such a shame to hear nobody's listening. All the methods that we use to measure an audience indicate that we have thousands of people listening every day. Now, it's a bit more of a challenge to measure audiences in Duplin County because it is not a major radio market, and surprisingly, neither is Wilmington. Our radio station covers Wilmington, Jacksonville, New Bern, Goldsboro, Kinston, as well as Duplin, Pender, and Sampson counties. Now, even though it was my girlfriend's idea to come to North Carolina in the first place, she decided not to join me in this new life adventure. Nonetheless, I feel that this adventure has been a very positive one so far. Before WEGG, I worked a number of different jobs. I was the media director at Calvary Chapel, Antelope Valley for a year and a half, where I coordinated their radio ministry, did overhead video projection during services, as well as redesigned and maintained the church website. I was an IT, that's a computer support guy, for 6 pharmacies and 1 post office for 5 years. I was a sales rep for KFXM 96.7 FM in Lancaster, California for 2 years. I was a teaching minister at Community of Christ Church in Canoga Park, California. And I also operated my own radio station for many years. I started it in the bedroom of my parents' house when I was 10 years old, and that eventually grew into what would eventually birth the Surge Radio brand in 2005. So today I want to talk to you briefly about making the most of your college experience, and this is based on my own personal experience coming out of a not so positive high school experience. Many people say that high school is the best years of your life. Now for me that was not the case. High school was a complete nightmare. The toughest thing that happened in high school, which followed me into my college years, was the bad mindsets that I had developed toward education. In high school, I viewed my classes and schoolwork as a chore. It was something that needed to get done, and then I could move on to my free time. Free time was the thing that I lived for in high school. The time that I had to do whatever I wanted to. And the bad mindset that I developed was education was an arduous process, that would have little or no benefit to me later in life. As a result of this view of education that I had, I spent my first 2 semesters in college trying to change these ingrained mindsets, as well as actually develop study habits. My poor mindsets began developing in the 1st grade. That was where I coined the phrase, "all these books are ruining my life," which my 1st grade teacher remembers to this day. By the time we get out of high school, we should have good study habits in place. However, my approach to schoolwork was that I would blow off and skip as much as possible, put as little effort into my education as was necessary, take the tests, pass them, and therefore pass the class. In my high school, your homework was only worth 10% of your final grade. So theoretically, if you skipped all your homework and got 100% on every single test, you could finish off the class with a 90%. Not a bad deal, right? So my first semester of college, I did almost no homework, blew off as much as I could, took all the tests, but I didn't usually pass them because college was a bit more of a challenge than high school. So after that first semester, I got my report card, and I had failed every single class except for one. And that class wasn't actually a class. It was a required lecture that I had to attend every day for 2 weeks, and you passed it just by attending. So I never had a problem with attendance. In order to get anywhere in college, it's going to involve a lot more than a minimal effort. If you're not willing to put forth the effort, you're wasting your time. The important thing to remember here is that this isn't high school. If you're here in college, you need to be here because you want to be here. If you're not here because you want to be here, then there's no point. You're here to study things that matter to you, things that are going to help you get into your future career. The part that I didn't fully understand at first was that I was there to learn. You can't just daydream through every lecture, blow off your work, and expect to get anywhere. You're here to learn. You're here to fill your head with knowledge and professional skills that will build the foundation for the rest of your working life. If you have difficulties with proper study skills, there are resources available to help get you into a better routine. Once you can grasp that mindset that you're here to learn, not just simply to fulfill requirements, it will change your perspective on education. Once I realized that I was there to learn, I was able to relate better to the material I was studying. Then, one class at a time, I started working towards collecting these neat little titles: Associate of Biblical Studies, Bachelor of Theology, Master of Divinity. And here at James Sprint Community College, you can add a title to yourself like Associate of Art or Associate of Science, and then with that you can move on and add additional titles like Bachelor, Master, or even Doctor. Now, the title isn't the only thing that's cool to have, but the wealth of knowledge that's behind that title is the most invaluable resource that will be at your disposal throughout your working life. And to build upon what I said before about how I was depressed after leaving Kansas City, in the end, there was really nothing to be depressed about, because if I hadn't left Kansas City, I wouldn't be here today, living out a dream that I had had since I was 10 years old. Think about yourself. You might be facing a challenge here right now. Perhaps education is a very challenging experience for you. Don't let it get you down. You're here to lay the foundation for your future. Before you know it, you too can be living your dream. It starts here. Thank you.
Let's have some questions. Let's have some questions. How old you say you were?
25.
25 years old.
C'est CEO, businessman, multimillionaire. So ask him question.
What made you say that that's what you wanted to be?
Radio? Well, I started my own radio station when I was 10 years old, and my love for radio just kind of grew from there. And I had been working in it every chance that I got. As I mentioned, I was a sales rep at KFXM 96.7 in Lancaster. I also worked as a sales rep for KWTD 91.9 FM, but that one I never put on my resume because I never formally quit. So to this day, I might still have a job there, I don't know. But I'm on the other side of the country. So I recommend that you give your 2 weeks notice before you quit a job. That's the best policy.
You said you started at 10 years old, and sort of talk to us about that.
Yeah.
You have to play, you have a imaginary radio station in your room, I mean.
Well, I had a computer, and I had an FRS walkie-talkie base station, and I figured out that if you were to plug the headphone port, plug a cord into the headphone port, get an adapter and plug it into the mic port on that intercom base station, it would continuously transmit. So for 2.5 years, I transmitted music and talk programming over FRS walkie-talkies, and it went about 5 miles around my house. I did that for 2.5 years until someone decided to come investigating, because that is against Part 95 of FCC rules and
I was
regulations.
thinking about that.
And then eventually I just got into internet radio, which is completely legal. And I did internet radio till I was 24, and then I came here and started doing radio for real.
How?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Based on what you just talked to our student then, and based on certain research I've done, I can relate you to people like Steve Jobs. I can say I can relate you with people like Alan Turing, because you have that mindset. Was it part of the environment you grew up, or was some other factor? Because it seems like most geniuses have rebellious characters, and I see that in you. I don't know whether it's because of where you grew up, has that effect on you, or the people you are surrounded around helps you for what you did or what you are doing.
Well, I guess it was mainly because I just didn't have much of an interest in what was being taught to me from first grade up through the end of high school. I had my own things that I was interested in, and I just had a lack of interest in what was being presented. And unfortunately, that lack of interest followed me into college, even though I was studying something that I wanted to study. And that was something that I had to get out of my mind, that essentially what I did is I had put all education was something I wouldn't be interested in. But when you're in college, you're there because you want to be. You're studying something that is going to lay the foundation for your future. If you're not doing it because you're interested in it, then there isn't any point. So that was something that I struggled with for quite some time, changing that mindset that I'm here because I want to learn, and this is material that I'm interested in, so I should be having more of an interest in studying. So finally, by my 3rd semester, I got on course and was doing good in college.
I'm curious about what your business plan and goals are for the future of the radio station.
Yeah, business plan, I don't have one. I'm actually going to be working with Lee Woodard here to get one, because the majority of the equipment and facilities associated with the radio station were extremely antiquated, and I need to get a bank loan in order to not only do some upgrades, but to purchase a new office in downtown Wallace. And the bank's not just going to give you money, so you got to have a business plan to present to them. So that's valuable information for anyone wanting to start a business, is that the bank just won't give you money. You got to have a business plan. And probably should have thought of that before, but I didn't. And but now, after the fact, I'm doing it. So.
What's the wattage for that station?
Our 710 AM signal is 2,500 watts, and our 100.5 FM signal is 250 watts. Now, our 100.5 FM is a repeater station. The type of license is called a translator. Now, the way a translator license works is that it can't play its own programming. It has to repeat a main station. So we have 710 AM as the primary. And even though 710 AM is a daytime only radio station, the FCC has kind of a loophole in that you can continue broadcasting programming on your translator even if your full power station is off the air at night. So that's what we did. So 710 this month shuts off at 6 o'clock, but 100.5 runs 24 hours a day.
So you're getting some income coming in now?
Yes. So we have 8 advertisers right now, and as well as some brokered programming. We still devote Sundays primarily to gospel music and sermon programs. We have Bishop Curtis West doing a program from 8 a.m. or 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. We have the Lutheran Hour and Pastor Jim Dawson. Also, Darlene Laseth is doing a Hope and Wellness show on the radio station from 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. And they all pay for those times.
I had the opportunity to meet Kenneth yesterday. I thought the day would be the day that I would meet him, but a colleague of mine, a friend, invited me to come to the station to talk about African American history. So I spent about 2 hours with him. And it wasn't my first time being on a radio station, but those of you who would like to do something different, it may be a great avenue for you because, to me, it seems like a very enjoyable business, so sort of enlarge your thinking, and I'm sure that Kenny would not have a problem if you coming by to visit the station. Matter of fact, he's going to about a big truck at time, but I'm promoting my consulting business. So maybe you all have some projects from time to time that you may can support the station, having some event coming up, so
We
might
do.
visit it.
We do event announcements on the radio station for $15 1 week ahead of time. And that's for any event. Any event that you're promoting, we'll do that for you, run a promotion for you, 30 to 60 seconds for $15, and that'll run about 5 times a day.
Did you have a question? Oh, okay.
Anybody think you want to go into the radio business?
If anyone wants to come get a tour of the radio station, we're there from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And you can just pretty much show up. If I'm there, if I'm not there, someone else is probably going to be there. But if I'm there, I'll give you a tour. There's not a whole lot to see, but we have our main studio and our equipment room, and then we also have the building in Wallace that houses our 100.5 translator. So our main office is on Highway 117 in between Rose Hill and Magnolia. Just look for the tall red and white tower. It's right, a little trailer in front of that. And over near River Landing behind Bojangles in Wallace is our other tower. So if you're ever going over there to eat, just kind of look behind. There's another tall red and white tower. That's where our 100.5 FM is.
So your girlfriend stayed over there, or is she here?
Yeah, she's still in Bakersfield, California, but still trying to convince her to come out here, even though this was her idea.
It is, I guess it's go along with the business model, but is there, have any plans to hire employees down the road?
We do. Right now, Surge Media, my company, has purchased 100.5 FM, and we operate 710 AM via a time brokerage agreement with Connor Media Corporation. They're the company that has owned 710 from 1996, when the original founder, Jeff Wilson, sold it to him. Once we finalize the purchase of 710, which will be in June or July, and when we open up our new office, we will be looking for some employees at that point. So if anyone's interested in that, get your resumes ready.
What types of employees would you be looking for?
Not too sure at this point, but we will probably have some availability posted up on our website, surgeradio.org, as well as probably on LinkedIn, if any of you have a LinkedIn account. That's a helpful tool in the business world.
you say you was a minister,
Yes.
so that's a job by itself. So is it hard distinguishing between the two, the radio and?
Yeah, I was a teaching minister in Canoga Park, California, at the Community of Christ Church. I gave Sunday morning sermon there once a month. In most churches, they have, the senior pastor gives the sermon every week. My church is a little different in that we had a teaching rotation, and I was a part of that rotation. Out here, I've been attending Bishop Curtis West Church, and it's even though I'm ordained, it's kind of building from the ground up again with whatever church you're a part of. So I've been going there, and Bishop Curtis West, he's a very nice man, and definitely enjoy going to his church. It's the Way of Truth Free Gospel Church of Christ in Wallace.
By the time you get 50 years old, you'll be in Forbes magazine. Yeah, look how much you have achieved in your lifetime. And some people just getting started, and I think I commend you for having the mind to think big. That's what we all need to do.
We're also working on getting on the air down in Wilmington on 106.7 FM. That was a talk radio station that just went off the air. So if you're in Wilmington and tuned to 96.7, it is currently off the air. It's unfortunate that the guy that was running that wasn't able to make it profitable. But we're going to give it a shot if the owner will allow us to. So that's we're in the process of trying to expand as well. Another thing that we've added is online streaming. WEGG never had that before, so if you have a smartphone with an app called TuneIn, just search WEGG and that'll show up there. Or if you have an iPhone, we have a special iPhone app. Just search Surge Radio, all one word, in your app store, and you can download our app right there.
People have, you sell ads, right? I mean, there's a possibility in the future that maybe some of our students to help you and then maybe make a little money and stay progressive.
Yeah, that's something that we're looking at that we can do for the future. We do hire voice artists for our commercials, and we usually pay $50 per commercial for that. So we're not actually looking to do that right now until we get larger commercial inventory. But as soon as we start developing a larger commercial inventory, we will be looking for probably some local voice talent. So if any of you have interest in being a voice artist, that's something that we'll,
commercials.
yeah, to do the voice for it.
Like you can sell some cookies, so you can, I can come in and read if you like my voice, you Harvey, you know how it works.
Yeah. Also, salespeople is something else that we'll be hiring in the not too distant future. If you want to try and sell radio advertising to businesses, we pay 20% commission. That's something we'll also be doing in the future. We're trying not to develop too much overhead right now, since we don't even own the station outright just yet. But in the summertime, that's definitely something we'll be looking forward to.
You probably, I don't know if you thought about it or not, but have you planned on owning a radio station back at home in the near future? Do you get yourself?
Oh, back in California?
Yeah.
No, I don't ever want to go back to California. No, I left California to go to Kansas City, and moving from Kansas City back to California was a big mistake. I won't make that mistake again going back to California.
Everybody wants to go to California.
It's too hard to run a business in California these days. So glad to be in North Carolina. Yes.
So do you think that your wife will ever come to North Carolina with you?
Well, she's just my girlfriend for now, but yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Still trying to talk her into it. She said that she might come out next month, and then next month she'll probably say the month after that.
Maybe the month after that.
That's what it's been like. Last month she'd come out this month, and then this month now she's saying next month. So we'll see what happens.
Well, let's give him a big round of applause.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Any more questions?
Very inspiring, I think.
Yeah.
And he's only 25, I mean,
Yeah.
you on your way.
And,
It didn't
you
take
know,
you that long.
what gets me is that he has a degree in divinity. You know, you wouldn't
Yeah.
think necessarily radio. I mean, I guess there is television, that kind of thing, but you wouldn't typically think that. But he not only gave himself an education, but he also gave himself, he learned talents on his own.
Yeah.
Which
80 years
put
old.
him in that position to be able to do it.
You know what you want at 10 years old? That's great.
You just wake up one day and just say that's what you want to be.
Do I have any more questions? Anybody want to go on the radio at this time? WMEL?
Yeah, she has a
Yes.
question.
What made you like the radio? Like,
It kind of started, there was a radio station, 102.7 KIIS FM in Los Angeles, that I really liked. Now, before that station, I liked another station that was 97.7 KABS. And then when I found out about 102.7, I quit listening to 97.7, and then about 6 months later, 102.7 bought out 97.7, and they were both playing the same thing. So like, oh, my favorite radio station from LA is now has a transmitter in my own valley, because I lived in the northern part of Los Angeles County. So the Los Angeles stations that were on Mount Wilson didn't all come in that great in the part of LA County that I lived in. But there was something in that just kind of sparked an interest, and then I got into listening to ham radio repeaters. You know, I bought a radio scanner when I was like, well, actually my dad bought it for me. I was 8 years old, and I got to listening to radio repeaters. I think it was the movie Contact actually that got me interested in that. So combination of that just got me interested in radio, and then I started broadcasting music on walkie-talkies, which I didn't know was illegal until 2.5 years later.
Were they pretty understanding to a 12-year-old, 13-year-old?
Well, here's what happened. I was, just doing my thing on the radio, and I went to bed that night, and it was 9 o'clock. My dad comes in at 9:48. I remember it very clearly. This was May 7th, 2003, 9:48 p.m. Very sad moment. My dad says, "Son, I need you to come out to the front room with me here." I said, I'm laying in bed, I'm half asleep. Show me in the morning. He's like, "No, I need to show you now." So he takes me out to the front room, and he shows me this car that's parked in front of our house. And he said, he told me what happened. He went out to get the mail, because he saw this guy walking up and down the street with something that looked kind of like this. And he's just walking up and down the street doing this. So he goes out to get the mail, and the guy comes up to him and says, "Oh, sir, just so you're not worried, I'm looking for the guy illegally broadcasting on FRS Channel 3. I'm trying to pinpoint the general location and then report it back to the FCC, and then whoever's responsible will be getting a $10,000 fine." So that was why he wanted to show me now. So, yeah, then I had to pull the plug on it, and a couple months later I brought it back again just as an internet radio station, which was completely legal until 2004 when there started to be problems online with the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, and internet radio stations had to start paying royalties. So it was free once upon a time ago to run an internet radio station, but now it'll cost you about $300 a month.
So you didn't get any major trouble, I mean, you didn't.
No, I didn't get in any trouble.
Okay.
It was a close call, very close.
That's good. Yeah, this is good. another hand.
Thank
All right, outstanding.
That was good.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh,